I can't believe it. Again, I met a potential client here at the coffee shop, and they ended up going with someone else. Said they wanted to work with someone who looked more established.
Oh no, that's unfortunate, but honestly, why are you still meeting clients at coffee shops? You should check out J. Kenba Executive Suites.
J. Kenba? Never heard of it.
Really? It's a professional office space right here in Baton Rouge. You can rent an office that's already furnished, plus they include Wi-Fi, secure building access, utilities, on-site parking, and they even handle the regular cleaning. All you have to do is show up and focus on your clients.
Wait, they handle the cleaning too? That sounds way easier than trying to make my home office look professional or hunting for a quiet spot at a coffee shop.
Exactly. And if you don't need a full-time office, they even rent out conference rooms for small meetings and workshops. Perfect for impressing clients without the overhead.
That's exactly what I need. Where do I find out more information?
Just visit jkenba.com and schedule a tour. Trust me, you'll wonder why you didn't do this sooner.
J. Kenba Executive Suites. We provide the professional space. You create the success. Visit jkenba.com today.
Welcome to the Byron Radio Show. I'm your host, Dr. Byron Jasper, and we are recording live with special production by Becnel Media. Welcome to, I believe, episode 37 of the Byron Radio Show. You hear us all the time. If I say we, that must mean I got my ace with me, my what we call it, going back like 4 flats on a Cadillac at the Sugar Shack. The one and only with me must be my homie George Becnel. George Becnel, aka Patient Zero. Patient Zero, how you doing today, brother?
Man, I'm great, brother. It's always a pleasure to sit here and talk with you, man. And you said we made it to episode 37, excuse me. 37, man. You know, I'm thinking of the little sister on Family Matters, man. What's her name? Was Judy. I don't think Judy made it to 37.
I know she did make it to 37.
I want to say she walked upstairs about episode 24 and never came back.
Never came
so
back.
to say that we
Judy.
Yeah, to say that we made it to the episode 37, man, we must be doing something right.
Yep. And the funny thing, or not funny thing, I don't know if you know this, it might be on Netflix or Hulu. There's like a documentary of what happened to like child stars. I think it was like the Nickelodeon documentary. I can't remember. And it was
I did see that one.
Yeah, some really bad stuff apparently. So Nickelodeon apparently was off the chain. And if not Nickelodeon, I don't know, because clearly Family Matters wasn't on Nickelodeon. But
No.
The idea, she was on the documentary and said like kind of how her life went off the rails when they basically took her off the show. So it was some crazy stuff, some dark stuff too. So
she was a porn star, wasn't she?
Yeah, I mean, apparently for a moment or in time, and doing much better now, but it was just super dark, like how they got rid of her and just basically blackballed her. Some crazy stuff. So all that being said, we are not going to be like Judy. We're going to treat everybody with respect. And we're going to make sure that we keep people around for long periods of time with the topic today. And I believe it's a topic that's pretty universal for all people. And it's been a little while, as I told you before we started recording, that we hadn't done a medical topic, truly medical by itself, and not necessarily policy or legislation or academic or administrative. We are, went away from a little bit of the medical stuff. So we're going to jump into the medical stuff today because I think people really can appreciate that and also learn a lot from us. So we're talking about the thing that a lot of people know, have experienced, have people that have experienced it, but may not realize how prominent it is. And that's basically the topic of high blood pressure. So George, we'll start off with very basic question, simple question. You already know, I'm sure a lot of people who are listening know, but just in case they don't, what is the medical term we use for high blood pressure, my friend?
High blood pressure is commonly known as hypertension.
Gotcha. So hypertension is simple enough, right? So I'm going to ask just a flip question. What's the opposite of hypertension?
hypotension.
Hypo. There we go. All right. Just wanted to make sure. So there are two types.
Oh yeah.
There's
Well, I went to school,
clearly
boy.
there you go. No, no, and I wasn't throwing you the curveball like you weren't going to get it. But a lot of people don't realize that it's not just a one size fits all. That it's high blood pressure. There's also low blood pressure, and then of course normal blood pressure. So
Sure.
George, can you give us a very basic grassroots definition of what hypertension is? Not necessarily how it's diagnosed and numerical values, but what is hypertension? People hear the term high blood pressure. People hear the term hypertension. People hear all these medical things and know what it is, kind of, but don't really know the definition. So, what is the grassroots simplified definition for people just trying to understand what it is?
So it's a chronic elevation in pressure inside your arteries. So just to make it real, real simple, imagine water. Like imagine you drawing a bath or you washing your hands or something like that. You know, the force that your blood moves within your arteries, that's the pressure. Just like just like water, right? You they have too much pressure, it can cause problems. Not enough pressure, they can also cause problems. So
Correct.
just kind of have that image of water in your head and imagine your blood moving through your body like that.
100%. So, the idea of that force of something coming from one area to another, pumping the way it should, if we have enough force and it's the right amount of force, not too much, not too little, you're doing pretty well. If you have too much force, eventually it's going to cause problems. And as you already articulated, if we don't have enough pressure or not enough force, it is going to also cause problems. So people tend to know high blood pressure as a term, but not really understanding the concept. And George, I'm sure you're going to get this one because we have that terminology we tell people of what it's called besides hypertension, besides high blood pressure. How do people tend to identify that diagnosis or that pathophysiology? Big fancy word meaning how the actual disease works. So, what is another nickname we call high blood pressure?
Oh, high blood pressure is the silent killer. Um, because sometimes your blood pressure can be elevated and you don't feel any different.
Hmm.
Now, sometimes it can
Absolutely.
cause other things, right? And then you might have a hint to check your pressure, but sometimes it doesn't.
Absolutely. So the silent killer is the term that most people may have heard one way or another and not realize how that term is applicable. So we're going to come back to that and say how it is exactly applicable. But George hit the nail on the head that you can have it for a long period of time and never really have any symptoms. You feel normal, you're walking around, talking, doing things, and all of a sudden, boom, when the symptoms start, it's a lot more damage that has been caused than you think because you never felt any different. And you never felt different, so you must be fine. That's the thing most people think. But we're going to jump into the idea of why a lot of people aren't really fine because you know what? We love something around here called math and numbers. And more importantly, statistics. George, why do
Yep.
we love those
Why?
statistics?
Because they don't have an opinion.
Don't have an opinion. So exactly the idea of, hey, I feel fine, so therefore I must be fine. Well, if that's the case, then these numbers will hopefully debunk that idea, right? And I say hopefully
Mhm.
because if we can get you to change your thinking as you're listening to this, that tells us we're doing something right. So George, let's give them some stats if you don't mind to our dedicated
Sure.
listeners. So let's start with some national data. So let's go with from the big picture of the United States, and then we'll kind of narrow into local here in Baton Rouge, where we are potentially located, specifically the clinic. And then we'll talk a little bit more in detail about each thing. But let's start with some national data. So what you got?
Sure. So 47.7% of US adults have hypertension. That's according to the CDC 2021 to 2023 data, right? So 47.7%, that's almost half. Approximately 119.9 million people in the United States are affected. Only 22.5% of people have their blood pressure well controlled. So 22.5% of people. So that's one out of every four, roughly, right? And then 77.4 have uncontrolled hypertension under the current standards, which is really wild. I don't know what happened to the other point one, but apparently there's a point one that's out there doing something else. I don't know.
They
But
wilding, or they're no
yeah,
longer with us. Let's start there. Okay. So
yeah. We got to sing the hymn for them. They're done. They're out of here.
there you go.
Um,
So let's take a moment because you gave us some stats, and you know
mhm.
me, I like to really go into the numbers. We won't go too deep because we got a lot to cover, but 47.7% of adults. Okay, so
It's half.
damn near half. So my question to you, simple question, and I really want your honest opinion. Does that surprise you?
No, not at all.
Okay, why not?
Well, when you think about what people eat and how people live their life, um, most people probably don't exercise the way they should, which helps with blood pressure. Um, and most people on the go and live high paced lives because that's just what it is in America. But what that does is people like to eat conveniently. They like to eat fast food. They like to eat processed food. And when you talk about these type of foods, normally those are high in sodium, which increases your blood pressure. So I'm not shocked by this at all. And it's something else too, where a lot of times you have to be in care and really understand where you are on a regular to even address this. And most people, as we know, are not. So for all those reasons and more, I'm not shocked by any of this.
And I will slightly agree with you, but I'm gonna tell you where I disagree. I was shocked, and I'm gonna tell you why. And you may say, "Well, you're in this situation. Why are you shocked?" The question of why I was shocked is not complex. It's like I thought it was going to be higher. Like I was like
Oh,
47.7 to me sounds like it's a little bit lower than what I was expecting because
well,
the amount of people who potentially have hypertension are what not in care, right? So you can imagine if this is just based on people who are in care, then I'd say, okay, I get it. But if you're like in the country as a whole, do you really think it's just half? No, I think it's more than half that have high blood pressure. And once we talk about how we diagnose it, that'll determine why I think it's more. But to
well,
your point, yeah,
it
go
could be
ahead.
more
Yeah.
because if you think about it, if you're not in care, you're not getting measured.
Hmm.
So these 47.7% of people, or this 120 million people, they have to be aware that their blood pressure is elevated. You
Absolutely.
know,
Absolutely.
and think about it. If you never go to the doctor, or if you never stop the Walgreens or the grocery store or whatever, put your arm in the little thing when you get bored. We used to do that when we were kids. Me and Sadie, mom used to be shopping. You used to find a little thing, stick your arm in there. You know,
Hmm.
whatever. But anyway, if you haven't done any of that, you probably have high blood pressure and you're not included in the data.
Hmm. That's right. And I think that's the issue, right? You have a lot of people who are potentially not in care. And as you mentioned, the ones that are not in care are usually not measured. Now, this is the funny thing, and we'll talk about it a little bit
Mhm.
more. Why do you think people don't measure their blood pressure at home? And I'm asking that for you to come back to it in a second, because that is a question that I'm posing to you and potentially our listeners. Because out of all the patients that I see, all of them, I guarantee out of 10, only one of them has a blood pressure cuff at home before I see them,
Yeah.
which is insane to me. But when I tell you some of the reasons why I've been told I don't have one, it's going to probably be like, yeah, that's kind of weird, in my opinion. But I want you to think about it. Now, you hit one more nail on the head that I want to make sure we talk about. You said they have to be in care, possibly, and they have to measure. But you also said people live a lifestyle that potentially promotes them having these numbers. That's why it's statistically where it is. I think the other reason it's there, which has absolutely nothing to do with a lifestyle, is people are potentially FOS. And I know you know what that means, but since it's a family show, we're not going to say what it means. And the point is, people just don't realize that it's not that hard to find out if you have this and to get it treated and to get up and move and be active and to work on adjusting your diet. But they always have a reason. Oh, I got to go to work. Oh, I don't have time to cook. Oh, it's on the way home. Oh, well, it's too dark outside. Oh, it's too hot outside. Oh, well, I can't work out at home because it's too noisy. Like there's all these excuses. And the worst part to me is not that they're excuses, it's that you're trying to tell people that all of the things you're saying may have worked in terms of logic, 5, 10, 15 years ago. But if you really want to get rid of this and stay alive longer, you have to readjust your thinking, because if you don't, you're going to be one of these statistics that we talk about in other areas that are going to literally be a shoulda, coulda, woulda. And I'll tell a story about it again a little bit later about a relative of mine that this happened to. But the idea for me is that it's people not wanting to change their bad habits, and then they are potentially set in bad ways, and then they come in and it's like they're going to explain to me the logic behind why their habits are so bad, and we're just going to say, yeah, that's right, okay, that makes sense, let's just go ahead and go with that logic. Like, nah, it ain't how it works. But once you hopefully start to change people's small habits, those small habits turn to big habits, they start to feel better, live longer. You're like, it really wasn't that hard that long ago. It's just people are set in their ways. So that's my opinion. That's my soapbox for the beginning of the show. I'm sure I'll have a few more as the show goes on. But let's go a little bit further. So we talked about big picture nationally. Let's talk about from a demographic standpoint, right? Let's talk about race, ethnicity. Let's talk about gender. So let's give them some more statistics. Patience here. What you got?
Sure. So non-Hispanic Black adults um, ha- have high blood pressure about 58% of the time. So it's a little elevated in Black people, probably because of Tony Satry. You know, he's contributed to this over time. Um, Non-Hispanic white adults, 49%. So slightly above the average, but 9% lower than Black people. And Hispanic adults, 39%. It's pretty low. When you talk about the sex differences, men have about 50% prevalence when it comes to high blood pressure, and women are only 44%, which is not shocking either. But the key takeaway, nearly half of the country has high blood pressure, but less than a quarter are managing it effectively. So that's actually concerning.
Okay. Now, how concerning is it that you just said that 50% of men got high blood pressure? Okay. Now, why am I saying that? We can literally talk about basketball teams. We can talk about, and I'm not talking about professional, I'm talking about, your intramural league, your church league. We can talk
Hmm.
about flag football. We can talk about the choir. We can talk about fraternities. We can talk about all these things. That means in all of those numbers, 50% of those people have high blood pressure, right? 20 people on the in the choir, 10 of them got high blood pressure. Like that's the part that really is surprising, but not surprising to the point of, okay, well, it is 50%. But then when you come back and say out of that 50%, only 25% of them potentially are in care. It literally just shows why men drop way earlier than women, because they probably have it. They don't know they have it because they're not checking. And then when you finally tell them they have it, they still don't really manage it properly, because you didn't say 1 in 4 is not in care. You said they don't manage it properly, meaning they might have been diagnosed and they still not doing the right thing, or they are getting management, but it's still not under control. And in their mind, because I take medicine or because I work out, I'm good, even though that's not the way it works. So that should hopefully wake some people up if they've listened to us and they're obviously rocking with us into season 4. They should realize that, look, these numbers aren't things that we're making up. They're either pulled from different statistical databases, the CDC, the Journal of American Medical Association, or JAMA, which is, we did a whole episode on the what's the word, the validity of those articles that we pull and the statistics that we pull from those articles and how hard it is to get into those journals. So these data points that we're talking about are not things that are just made up and random, like, oh, well, let's just give people shock value. These are literally people, your family members, your coworkers, your people who are in your social clubs. These people are sick and they're just walking around living life, acting like nothing's going on. And that silent killer is just basically slowly but surely eating it up, slowly but surely causing problems, slowly but surely wreaking havoc. And yet we just basically think, oh, it's going to, magically get better, or they're going to magically just, snap out of it. Like, you have to literally get people that wake up call and say to them, something's wrong. Right. And I think that's a huge thing. And you are spot on that this is a problem across a lot of demographics, Black people being, of course, one of the biggest, if not the biggest. So I think, those are pretty easy to wrap your head around. So let's go a little bit closer. So again, the hometown is in Louisiana, and the hometown's in Louisiana because, of course, that's where the clinic is. So let's talk about some of the stats of Louisiana, because we talked about racially, we talked about from a gender standpoint, we talked about nationally. So let's talk about from a state standpoint. What you got?
So, from a state standpoint, 43.3% of Louisiana adults report being diagnosed with high blood pressure. Again, it's almost half.
Hmm.
Um, Prevalence is actually 8% higher than the national average, and I thought the national average was 47, but whatever. Um, and then the rates have risen 14% over the last 20 years. That is a problem.
And let me clarify. So the data we pulled on the national level is always lagging because we're pulling it from the CDC. So if you know anything about medicine, the statistical data that is available to us often is going to be behind where we are
Ah,
in time. So from 21 to 23 was the statistical data you said for the national average from the CDC. This is more relevant to a recent thing because the state may be a little bit faster in reporting its data. So that may be why it's a little bit higher, quote unquote, because
mhm.
maybe in the last 2 or 3 years, the
It went down.
it went down, right? So, but you
Okay.
mentioned the other part that I think I wanted to come back to. You said over the last 20 years, what has happened when it comes to blood pressure in the state of
It's
Louisiana?
it's risen over 14%.
14%, right? So that
That's
should
a
tell
lot.
you it's not getting better. And again, we could apply this to other states. Other states may be a lot better, they may be a lot worse. But if we're talking about Louisiana, if it's getting worse, then why do we keep doing the same thing we've been doing? Why do we keep talking about insurance and going to the doctor? And if I got good insurance, I would like all that stuff, which we'll come to. But that goes to show you it ain't working. Maybe we need to do something different, right? Maybe, just me. So, with that, all that being said, let's talk briefly about where do you think the highest prevalence might be in the state of Louisiana, right? We got different parts. We got north, we got west, we got east, we got south. Which
It's
part of
definitely South
Louisiana?
Louisiana. It's absolutely South.
Why
Is
do you think
is
that,
is
brother?
is below 190, bro, because that's where the good food at. You know, I blame chicken crackling. That's part of the problem. People we eat some ridiculous stuff in Louisiana, bro.
Well,
Just
well,
just
well,
being real.
well, since
I'm
you
part of
brought
the
it up,
problem.
because I was going to ask, because in so many words, I figured you were going to name certain things. So that was the question that I was going to come to you. What part of the state and what are they eating that would potentially make them more susceptible to high blood pressure? You just gave me one, but I
Bro,
want you to give me your top five. That's why, because I figured you got some good ones.
top five.
Top five.
Jesus Christ. Crawfish. I mean, delicious, but I'm pretty sure that's like almost drinking a box of salt, right? So high sodium. Charbroiled oysters,
That's a
magically
surprise one to me.
delicious.
That's a surprise. I thought you weren't going to put that up there. I thought you were going to go crawfish. That was definitely one in my top
Yeah,
five.
yeah.
All right. I got, four more, but I thought of your top five, I didn't think charbroiled oyster was going to go in there. I'm going to be honest. All right.
Yeah,
But
because
go ahead.
because if you think about it, it's like straight butter and cheese.
Okay. I'll give you that.
You
I'll
know,
give you that.
uh, fried food, fried catfish, fried shrimp, fried oysters, fried seafood is up there. I would say boudin, cracklings, things of that nature is up there. Uh,
So
and
that's four. That's four. You just named four. So number
yeah, yeah.
five. I'm going to see if you go get number five.
Number five. So I said fried seafood, cracklings, boudin, charbroiled oysters. I don't know. There's so many things I could say. I could go sweets, like the bread pudding and all this other stuff. You know what? I'm gonna just say gumbo because I feel like we
That's
put
it.
so much
That's
crap
it.
in gumbo.
That's what I was going to say. So
You
you're
know,
my
and,
top
and
one.
we literally a roux is literally for people who don't know what a roux is the base of the gumbo is literally burnt flour and cooking oil, like clogged arteries. Before we put in the chicken stock, before we put in the the seafood and the sausage and all the seasonings. Because I tell you what, smoked sausage, andouille sausage, clog up your arteries by itself. It don't even need the roux. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we do some. It's delicious, but
Yeah.
we do some unhealthy stuff in Louisiana.
So I was going to say my top 5 real quickly was going to be, and not in a particular order. It was definitely going to be crawfish,
Yeah,
right? Southern Louisiana, it's going to be crawfish. It was going to be gumbo, because those two things have so much stuff in them, you don't even realize how much stuff is in it, right? It's made with
correct.
so much stuff that everything potentially can have salt in it by itself. Plus, we're adding
Hmm.
salt to it, we're adding seasoning to
Question,
it, we're adding all this stuff. So go ahead.
question. Are you eating potato salad with the gumbo?
I mean, I feel like most people in Louisiana, it's a huge yes, absolutely. And that's why I said those two are going to be my top two
Yeah,
out the gate, right? So then on top of that, it's definitely fried seafood and then fried chicken, specifically Popeyes. Okay. I blame Popeyes for probably a smooth 28% of that number, because I feel like it's year round fried seafood, year round fried chicken. Gumbo and crawfish is usually more seasonal, so that can drive it up in the beginning of the year. But when it comes to year round, fried seafood, fried chicken, that's going to be my 4 and 5. And then, I'm sorry, 3 and 4. And then for number 5, I would just say anything that people can get their hands on that is fast food related, right? That could be French fries. That could be, as you said, we're going to this restaurant and they have potato chips as a side. It's never really something that's healthy, right? It's not like we're getting salads or anything like that. So it's
yeah,
usually something that has salt added to it. So I would say French fries from a fast food restaurant are things that come from a more fast food place. That was going to be my top 5. Now
there's a restaurant.
you went super off the chain down south with crackling and boudin and stuff like that. I don't think people would really say is that, but I wouldn't say no to it. But I would say commonly that's my top 5.
But you said South Louisiana. That's what I thought of. Like Popeyes is everywhere. So what I don't understand is like Popeyes is like the worst food for you, and it has the worst customer service, and we just like abuse because it's that delicious, right?
Well,
So
we've had have we had the fried chicken talk before? Have you and I had that talk offline before?
nah,
Well, the talk that I'll have with anybody, and I will literally argue you down with this, out of the 2 to 3 fried chicken places, fast food wise, which one do people go to for what reason? And I'm sure you're gonna get it in the right order. Most people don't realize it. So Chick-fil-A, Raising
customer
Cane's,
service,
and
the
Popeyes.
sauce, and the Popeyes has the best chicken. It's not even close.
Okay. So that's my point. That my argument for anybody who ever listens to me in this conversation, no one goes to Chick-fil-A for really the flavor. That's just my opinion. I've had people say, oh, no, it really tastes good. It doesn't. If I asked you to choose between Chick-fil-A and Popeyes and some other fast food chains, right? Bojangles would depend on the area you're in. Nobody would pick Chick-fil-A for the flavor over these other places. They would pick it for the customer service. It's customer service 9 times out of 10, and if not 9 times, 9.5 times out of 10. If Chick-fil-A had bad customer service, no one would go there.
Nobody would
I
ever go.
guarantee. I guarantee it.
Nobody would ever go.
Raising Cane's, people go there because it's very much like Chick-fil-A, good customer service, and the food's pretty much always hot and they don't mess up your order. Why? Because they don't have an extensive menu. Like, again, most people don't go to Raising Cane's like the food is amazing unless you're
The
not
sauce is
from
delicious.
Louisiana, right? If you're from Louisiana, most of the time people don't say I'm going to Raising Cane's to get fried chicken. They'll get it because, again, usually one item, chicken strips, plus a bunch of sides. And with that, tons of salt all on top of that. And then from there, it's because, again, pretty good customer service.
I get
When
my
it
fries
comes,
without salt
well,
all the
I'm
time.
willing. I'm willing to say that's possible. I don't still think it makes a difference. However, to finish my point, if it comes down to which place would you go with the worst customer service and still endure that customer service because you know the food is that good, it's Popeyes, hands down. Popeyes has the worst customer service. No
Yeah,
one, I don't think they've ever won an award for customer service. Like
no,
if you walk
they
into
never will.
Popeyes, well, I was gonna say, if you walk into Popeyes and they give you good customer service, you get nervous. You're like, what did I just step into? Like flat out,
I,
you would think they being held up. Somebody got a gun in the back, and you were like, look, this ain't right. Let me get out of here for somebody to come out here and stick me up. Because at this point, the customer service has to be bad in order for the food almost to be that good. Like that's just
No
the
lie.
logic that I've had.
I went to a Popeyes in Texas. I forgot the name of this little town. Is between the state line and Beaumont, right?
Mm-hmm.
Went to Popeyes, had an amazing experience. The chicken was good, customer service was on point. They got your chicken fast, everybody's order was right, the people was pleasant. Next time I passed the exit, the Popeyes was closed. No lie. And I was just baffled. I think people were just like, man, this is too pleasant. I need some
They didn't
trauma
trust
with
it.
my chicken.
That
Look, I need to see if I pull up to Popeyes, I need to see that disgruntled employee sitting outside on a crate with all the flour on their apron, looking pissed off on the side of the building. If I don't see that, I'm not stopping. I need to see that person outside.
if I go to Popeyes, you know what I need to see? I need to see a line of people literally just in line. That's it. Like, it's nothing wrong. It's just slow, right? I've literally pulled up to Popeyes with no one in line and still had to wait. Like, that just goes to show you how it works. And that's how you know the food potentially is going to be good. It ain't because it's quote unquote made to order. It's just, that's just their process. And that's why I sit here and laugh because as we're talking about those top 5 foods, I don't think anybody is sitting here saying I disagree about Popeyes being in the top 5. I don't think anybody will say that. And the last thing I was going to say to drive my point home, I don't think Popeyes is ever going to win a customer service award, and they are fine with it. They're not even trying. Like, it's not. You know what? We need to really do better. The I have literally been to Popeyes, and this is something I can't make up. And you know I'm from Homa. I've been to Popeyes, and they have literally come across on the drive-thru and say we ran out of chicken. You are a chicken place. Make it make sense. How do you
I
run out
hate
of
it.
chicken at a chicken place? But
I
you
can
know
see if you
what?
don't have no spicy
No, they say
and
we
all you
have
got is
no more
mild.
chicken. We have no
That's
more chicken.
wild. Like I can see if
So,
you ran out of white meat, all you got is dark meat or something. Like you have no more
so
chicken. That's wild.
no more chicken. So again, now maybe that's a few different things, but if I had to take a guess, it wasn't because the truck didn't make it there. It's because they cleaned them out. That's how much
Mm.
chicken they slinging out of Popeyes, and that's how I'm saying top 5. So we'll
I got
finish up and
another.
talk.
I got
Go ahead.
another unhealthy restaurant for you. Waffle House. Waffle House will have some drama. It's so unhealthy because they put all the stuff on your hash browns. It's magically delicious, and you might even see a fight.
Several,
Like
actually,
yeah.
several.
Matter of fact, me and a good frat brother of ours, Jackie Mouton. Shout out Jackie if you're listening. Me and Jackie was in Waffle House off of Segan one night. We saw a whole fight. We just sat there and watched the fight and ate our breakfast, minding our business,
It's just a part of the scenery at this
eating
point.
our unhealthy food. Yeah, it's part of the
It's a part of the
scenery. It's part
experience.
of the
So,
experience. Yeah,
so that's the point that I think a lot of people fail to realize when it comes to this. Obviously, this what's the word I'm looking for when you do the PhD, this dissertation on fried chicken. The point we're trying to make is, if you love Chick-fil-A, I'm not upset at you, but don't come at me and say you go to Chick-fil-A because it tastes really good. I just don't believe
no.
you. I will never
y-
believe you.
y- The second reason you might go to Chick-fil-A is because you want to believe it's somewhat healthy for a fast food joint
Yeah.
because they got grilled stuff, they got some salads,
Hmm.
they got some wraps.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah.
just want to feel like it's slightly healthier.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
again,
I'm with you.
I'm
There's no way on God's green earth you could tell me that Chick-fil-A got better chicken than Popeyes. It's just no
nobody,
way. You
nobody.
can't tell me that. If you tell me that, I can't trust anything else you say. I
Again,
just can't.
you think that they're trying to rob you. That's what I would say. All right, so we
Absolutely.
will literally close out the first part of the segment by talking about diagnostic criteria for high blood pressure. So with that, patient zero, I'm going to quiz you. I know you should know most of these, but let's go ahead and talk about normal blood pressure and then what constitutes high blood pressure. And then we'll be a
Sure.
little more detailed simply because a lot of patients and a lot of people out there have no idea how blood pressure is actually treated and or diagnosed. So we're going to start with the diagnostic criteria. So from a
Cool.
diagnosis standpoint, what is the criteria that we in the clinical sense would use to say you have normal blood pressure?
So, so it's measured with two numbers, right? You have your
Hmm.
systolic and you have your diastolic, right? So the normal blood pressure, 120 over 80, both must be met, right? And or it could be slightly lower than 120 over 80, but 120 over 80 is kind of, the standard, right?
Yep.
Then
So let me say
elevated,
this. Let me say this real quickly. So systolic, for people who are listening, the nerds out there like myself, systolic means contraction. So how is your, for lack of a better term, heart and your arteries squeezing down? That's the first pressure. Diastolic is relaxation. So once the pressure squeeze happens, how much pressure is there once it relaxes? So that's the two numbers. It's not just two random numbers that people make up. It's not two random numbers that we just like to, randomly cite. It really comes down to the physiology of the body. So how much pressure is there when things are contracting and how much pressure is there when it's relaxing. So I wanted to make sure we say that. And you're spot on. 120 over 80 or less than 120 over 80 is considered normal. So
yep,
anything at 120 over 80 or lower, we like it. It's normal. It's great. Let's keep going, my friend.
sure. So elevated would be 120 to 129 over 80, right? So if that top number kind of gets over 120, slightly elevated, you want to watch it. Now, stage one hypertension would be 130 to 139 over 80 to 89. Either number qualifies. So you can have that hot 120 at the top and 87 at the bottom. It's hypertension. Or you can have 135 at the top and 79 at the bottom. It's still stage one hypertension. So you got to watch that, right? Stage two hypertension, same rule applies. Is 140 over 90. Either number will get you there. So if you 120 over 90, I'm concerned about you. Stage two hypertension. If you 140 over 70, hypertension. Or if you 140 over 90, obviously hypertension. And a hypertensive crisis, which requires immediate medical attention, would be in 180 over 120. So if you ate a 12-piece Popeyes by yourself, you're probably somewhere about 180 over 120. And you need to go to the emergency room.
And I would say that potentially if you ate a 12-piece Chick-fil-A, it wasn't that good. Let's just go ahead and say that. But anyways, with that being
But
said,
the thing's like this big. You could eat 12 pieces of Chick-fil-A and your blood pressure might drop. You eat 12 pieces of Popeye's chicken, you eating thighs and breasts and legs. Yeah, bro, it's up there.
it's up there.
You
Yep. So let me jump in and say that you, again, once again, astutely got it right. So it's less than 120 over 80 is considered normal. I usually tell people to make it easy because trying to remember elevated versus stage one, let's just make it simple. So if it's between 120 and 140, then more than likely we're at stage one. And then if it's between 80 and 90, we're at stage one. And then if you're over 140 on the top, over 90 on the bottom, you're at stage two. So for me in our practice, we tend to start diagnosing people with high blood pressure when they start getting over 120, over 80. And if they're above 120, above 80, I start to tell people, look, you may not quite be at high blood pressure yet. You may not quite have hypertension yet, but you're awfully close. Or right out the gate, I'm like, look, you're already in the range. We may need to do something. If you're over 140 over 90, I'm automatically saying we need to do something. And then, as you already highlighted, the idea of being above 180 over 120 is a emergency. Now, that emergency, we won't go into all the things that happen when it comes to it, but just know that you need to seek medical care immediately. I will tell a quick story. And the quick story is we have been in situations, specifically us at the clinic, where I've gotten phone calls from people who have literally sent me blood pressure readings before they were patients saying my pressure is 190 over 110. I don't have any symptoms. Should I be concerned? That is the question that I have received from phone calls, text messages, things of that before people were patients. And thankfully, they now are patients. They have literally sent me pictures of their blood pressure readings and asked me, what should I do? I feel fine, but I checked my blood pressure, or I went to a physical, or I had to go get my CDL and they checked my pressure and it's this. What does that mean? That's the type of stuff we see, and we're in the clinical side. So you can imagine how people are really running 190, 200, 210, 128s, 130s on the bottom. And you're literally sitting here like, well, I don't understand how it's the silent killer. That's how. Because you can have a 190 and not have any symptoms. You can have a 125 and have no symptoms, let alone having a 148 or a 97 or 155 or 167. All these numbers may not sound like much, but they're causing problems. And that's happening daily. It doesn't start, go up, and then magically go down and stay down and come up and then magically go. It's usually high around the clock. And we're catching it and finding it before you have any symptoms, which is a good thing. But imagine if you never ever check it and it all of a sudden happens that you've been having this for 20 plus years. Like, that's the problem we're talking. So learning these numbers is paramount. You have to know the numbers. You have to know what you're checking and why. And when you go to these pharmacies and put your arm in the actual cuff and actually hit the button, it tells you if it's high or not. But the beautiful part is now you can actually go and buy a blood pressure cuff and it will tell you if it's high or if it's not high. It's not just giving you the reading anymore. Some of the blood pressure cuffs will actually turn colors. Green is normal, yellow to orange is stage 1 for the most part. Red is stage 2. Like, it's simple. But you know what? We talked about it earlier. I've had people say, I don't own a blood pressure cuff. My question is, why? And my favorite response, and I'm being sarcastic, is, well, I didn't think I needed one. What are you talking about? Well, I feel fine. That's okay. But do you have a toothbrush? Yes, I do. Do your teeth feel fine? Yes, they do. So why do you brush your teeth? Well, I want to keep it that way. That's the point. You get a blood pressure cuff to keep yourself feeling fine, not because you want to know when you're sick. Just like when people don't have thermometers. I don't get it. Why do you want a thermometer? Well, I don't need it because I feel fine. That's not the point. You want to have it so when you do not feel fine, you can check regularly. And blood pressure is even different in that you can check it more frequently. And if it's getting out of control, you know you need to make adjustments or get into care or both. But that's why I sit here and say, I don't understand why people don't have blood pressure cuffs. They're not expensive. They're pretty intuitive. Back in the day when they didn't have automated cuffs, I get it. But now they're automatic. And you know how much a blood pressure cuff that's automatic runs roughly? Any idea, patient zero, how much a blood pressure cuff runs roughly at this point?
30, 40 bucks.
That's the fancy ones. 20 bucks, $20. Okay. That is literally your meal at some of these fast food restaurants in 2 days. 2 meals, you're going to buy a blood pressure cuff. Like, it's insane that people don't have one. And the worst part to me is not that they don't have one, is that when I literally ask them, well, why don't you have one? They don't really have a good reason. It's just, I don't have one. So we really need to make sure that you are intentional once you hear this episode of not only getting one yourself, but making sure your family members have one and they're checking regularly, considering that this is a silent killer and those numbers can easily be out of control for a long period of time before you have any symptoms. So based off of that, I'll jump in and clean up, and then we'll go ahead into our first break. For the diagnostic criteria, besides the numbers, we usually need to check your blood pressure in 2 separate visits, and it needs to be high 2 separate times for it to be potentially considered high blood pressure officially. Not just high blood pressure on a low key, but on the sense of, hey, it's official, true high blood pressure. So we need to check multiple readings and multiple occasions. Usually it's 2 readings on 2 separate visits. Home monitoring can actually give us blood pressure diagnostic criteria as well, but we definitely need to have multiple readings. It's not just one reading one time or one reading on one day. It's one reading on multiple days. And those readings on multiple days give us enough data to let us know that. There are other ways to diagnose it, but those are going to be your solid basic criteria. We can also do it on blood work in a very weird way, but I won't bore you with that. But the idea is that we want to make sure you are in care, you're checking, we're checking, and we're having the diagnostic criteria met to say you don't have it with consistency and with confidence. And if you don't have that, that's why you get into care. That's why you come to see us. So with that, patient zero, any quick thoughts before we go to our first break? Anything that you're thinking that you think people need to know?
Pro tip, patient zero tip. This does not come from Dr. Jasper, but it comes from not medically trained me, but it'll save you. If your blood pressure does get to 190 over like 130 or something astronomical like that, be on the way to the hospital, but on the way, pop an aspirin. It'll help. Pro
Agreed.
tip from patient zero.
Like it. All right. Well, we will take a break and we'll be right back after this. Hello there, it's Dr. Jasper from the Byron Radio Show. Are you tired of the broken healthcare system? Frustrated by long wait times to see your physician, rush visits, and the sky-high healthcare costs that come with those rush visits? Yeah, I hear about it all the time. So if you're tired of dealing with any of those things, then I highly suggest you check out the book Byron Blueprint, an introductory guide to direct primary care for patients, physicians, and businesses. Written by yours truly, it breaks down all you need to know about direct primary care, a model that makes healthcare simple, affordable, and personal again. The book covers topics like how DPC differs from traditional insurance-based healthcare, what's the difference between direct primary care and concierge medicine, how employers can use DPC to cut healthcare costs, how this model reduces burnout for physicians and improves work-life balance, and so much more. Whether you're a patient, a doctor like myself who was fed up and burnt out, or a business owner tired of rising healthcare costs, this book lays it all out in plain English. So if you're ready for something better, check out Byron Blueprint, available in paperback, audio, and ebook format. Visit bookstoread.com/Byron Blueprint DPC and get your copy today. All right, coming back in from that amazing commercial break, courtesy of Patient Zero and his amazing production. With that, we are going to go back into the conversation about high blood pressure, and we're going to jump right into signs and symptoms of hypertension. So Patient Zero, off the top of your head, what are some basic signs and symptoms of hypertension that people will tend to come in and say, man, I'm having this, and it may not necessarily be that is definitely hypertension, but this can be a warning sign or a symptom of it.
I would say headaches could be a warning sign. Um, Swelling of your ankles could be a warning sign.
Mhm.
You walk around with cankles, you can't tie your shoe at the top, might have high blood pressure.
Quick
Um,
question. What is the C in cankles, or if it's a K, what does the C or the K mean?
it's calf,
I just wanted to make sure. I was
the,
thinking
your,
something
your
else.
calf and your ankles. So basically, when you can't tell the difference or where your ankle starts and your calf stops, then you got a cankle.
There we go. That's a new
You know,
medical term for some of you who are out there.
yeah, yeah. I, it was a personal favorite of our 43rd president or 42nd president, excuse me, the great Bill Clinton. He was an ankle guy. He was a cankle guy, so he made it popular.
All right. What else we got? So we said headaches. We said cankles.
Yeah. Uh, what I would say, I don't know,
Don't,
fatigue,
I would say don't overthink it. I want you to think if a person potentially shows up to a hospital or a clinic, what would they complain of that we would say, yeah,
chest
that could
pains,
be chest pain. Absolutely. Right. That's
chest
probably the
pains.
first one. That's probably the first one I
Yeah.
would say.
You might have some numbness on your left arm,
Mhm.
things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Any other ones that stand out to you that you would think, okay, just off the top of my head, you said headaches, you said swelling of the ankles, you said chest pain, you said maybe some numbness in the left arm, you said feeling tired, which is a one that I would say could be a thing. It's not a common thing, but it could be. What else you got? Anything else?
Maybe being out of breath, randomly,
Okay.
excessive sweating.
Okay. I agree. So shortness of breath, excessive sweating. I'll give you two more that most people tend to miss. Changes in their vision. So some people will say, my vision is a little blurred. Some people will say, I'm seeing double. And those people tend to not necessarily think, well, your pressure is so high that it's now affecting the visual field, but it happens all the time. So that's a huge one. And the other one that a lot of people don't realize is their heart's beating really fast. So we call it palpitations, but your heart's beating in a very fast rhythm. It's because, again, your heart is trying to beat and get blood to different organs. By trying to get to different organs, it has to beat faster to overcome the pressure that is not basically allowing it to reach the brain to reach the kidneys, to reach the lungs. So because the blood isn't reaching, the heart starts to beat faster. It tries to beat harder. And by it being that way, it causes problems where you're all of a sudden having this irregular heartbeat. The fatigue can happen because when the heart beats really, really hard for a really long time, over years, if not decades, it starts to wear out because the heart's a muscle. And when the heart basically wears out, you develop something called congestive heart failure. Congestive heart failure can cause fatigue. Fatigue can then cause swelling of the ankles. So that literally will lead to shortness of breath. So yes, patient zero, as much as it may not make sense to a lot of people, everything you said connects when I hear it, because being medically trained, we know how to put this picture together, where a person may walk in and say, I'm feeling really tired. And you may not realize that the tiredness comes from high blood pressure that's been under control, out of control for 10, 15 years, which has now led to heart failure. And heart failure now makes them extremely tired. That's how it works for medically trained people. But for the average person, well, I'm going to just need to go ahead and rest some more. I'm just tired. I don't really sleep that well. That's all it is. I don't need to go to the doctor. I just need to rest some more. And before you know it, you rest and don't wake up. So that's why we need to be very mindful that the signs and symptoms usually show up. And it's been a long time of you having this out of control. And by being out of control for so long, the symptoms and the signs have started to develop. A lot of damage has been done. By the time the headache shows up, a lot of damage has been done. By the time the changing of the vision shows up, a lot of damage has been done. Now, that's not saying it's not you can't reverse it. It's not irreversible. I'm not saying that. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But we don't want to wait until you have symptoms to show up. I'd rather you come before the symptoms start so we can protect you from having a stroke, protect you from having a kidney issue and things of that nature. So those signs and symptoms are warning signs, or the check engine light, if you will, of your body telling you something's about to break. You need to get it fixed, or something's broken. We need to fix it before the other stuff breaks as well and the engine burns up. So that's why the signs and symptoms are so important. And that's just a small portion of the signs and symptoms. There are way more we can talk about, way more. But those are probably going to be the most common ones that we talked about. Patient zero, any thoughts about that?
I mean, you spot on. I think you know that the common person, especially in our community, we feel something a little off, and the first thing we want to do is want to go lay down. They want to drink some water or some ginger ale or something crazy
Ginger
like
ale.
that.
Ginger
And
ale.
you got to be more in tune with your body. And when something is off, you need to check on it. You know. So, and I think that's a PSA to everybody. Like, just check on it, especially the older you get, because something just might not be right. It's not if you've had this ball of energy your whole life, and all of a sudden you just tired all the time. It's not a sign for you to go lay down more. You need to check something out. You start getting headaches more frequently. You need to check something out. You start getting chest pains. You need to check something out. Like, it's not just something where you just need to ignore it. Nah, like, go see and go check on it early.
Agree. And I will add a little bit more color to this actual commentary. I had a patient today, as we're recording this episode, who came to see me. His
Hmm.
wife literally has the clinic number because, again, when we take care of the family member, we usually engage with the family because sometimes the family member needs support from the family. The family member who's the patient literally leans on his wife regularly to help him do a lot of his medical care because, of course, he's just not as solid in that area. He came in today, and his wife sent me a text message, said, "Hey, Dr. Jasper, my husband's coming in today, and he's been taking a lot of BC powder, and I really don't know why he's doing it, but I've been telling him he needs to stop, and I really want you to hopefully talk to him about it." So I talked to him today, and what do you think the reason why he was taking a lot of BC powder?
He had headaches while he was
Yeah,
drinking.
he had a lot of headaches. What do you think his headaches come
Okay.
from?
Alcohol.
Blood pressure.
Oh
His
yeah,
blood
blood
pressure,
pressure, high
his,
blood
his
pressure.
blood, his blood pressure is out of control. And he said, when I was off my medicine, I had to take it 2 or 3 times a day. 2 or 3 BC powders a day, every day, can cause kidney problems and also can
Yep.
cause an erosion of the stomach lining, which can cause an ulcer. And that ulcer can then basically rupture and go into fluid spilling into your abdominal cavity, which is a surgical emergency. I've seen it and literally will never forget it when it happened, where I had a lady who came into the emergency room that had done that for so long that she basically tore through her lining, and we had to rush her to the rush her to the operating room to do surgery. I bring that up to say, if his wife didn't tell me about the BC powder, I would have never known, because he said, oh, my headaches aren't as bad because I just started taking my blood pressure medicine again because I ran out of it. And when I ran out of it, it took me a while to get back in to see you because I was at work, and, I couldn't miss work. And I basically got on him about that. But when I told him is, you don't need to take that much BC powder because it can be a problem. He said, well, no one ever told me that from a medical sense. I've heard people say that, but I never knew why. But when I told him, if your pressure is really well controlled and you're not eating the bad things, you're not drinking the bad things, you're not doing the bad things, you won't need as much BC powder. And he said, yeah, I understand. And I'm going to give you one more thing. This is something that I literally said. I hadn't heard that in a long time, but when I heard it, it definitely took me back to when I was a kid. What do you think he was eating that he was adding salt to that you probably wouldn't typically think of? But when I said, you probably be like, okay, yeah, I've heard that before. Eating something.
Watermelon.
So close. One more. I'll give you one more guess. It is a fruit.
They putting. Damn, the only fruit I know that you put fruit on is watermelon.
Did
I
you
mean,
put
that's
salt
the
on?
only fruit that you put salt on that I know of is watermelon.
He was eating apples and putting salt on them.
Bro,
I'm
you
telling
heard
you,
of that?
I've heard of that before. And again, I'm in
What?
the medical field, so I hear people eat all kind of stuff, man. Trust me.
Why,
So when I
wait,
heard that, it
why?
had been a while, because they like salt. They just love salt. People who have an affinity for savory foods like salty things. It's just like if you have a sweet tooth, you're going to literally draw on the sweet things. You may put syrup on stuff that doesn't need syrup on it, jelly on stuff that doesn't need jelly on it. And all of that being said, when he said it, I wasn't judgmental, but I was like, yeah, if you're putting salt on fruit, then that tells me why you're going to have a lot of headaches. And as we talked through it and started to sort through the dietary things he was doing, eating the bad foods, he started to realize that, okay, my headaches are coming when I'm eating those bad foods. When I don't eat them, my headaches aren't that bad, or they're gone. So I just need to work on that rather than take medicine and take medicine and take medicine. I need to work on the diet. So that's something we spent time talking about. But had he not been in our model, we wouldn't have been able to talk to his wife in a text message format. We wouldn't have been able to communicate with her and then talk to him in a very concerned, but also a very caring way. And that's just why I'm trying to explain. People don't realize that it's not always you go to the doctor, they give you pills, and that's it. And then you go home to take pills, everybody's happy. You got to really get into what's causing the problem, how the problem is basically affecting you, and why are we not getting the result we're needing from a holistic, big picture standpoint. So, all that being said, he's doing better. I'm happy to say he's doing better, but it did take some time to really work through that problem that he's having. So with that, patient zero, we'll move on a little bit because I think we've been going pretty long on this episode. Let's talk about what happens if we don't control the blood pressure from the stance of all the things that could go wrong. We, of course, know the main thing that could go wrong, and most people, I think, listening to this will know. But what are some of the things that people may not know and may know that can happen when you don't have blood pressure under control? I want you to list off
So,
as many as you can.
so obviously, you could die. You know, you hit the upper room, right? Um, Heart attacks, strokes, blown kidneys, um, loss of eyesight. I would assume pancreatic problems. Um, okay, that's not one. I can tell by your reaction. It's cool.
Not, 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 not,
Um,
not directly. I'm not going to say it can't happen, but not directly. But the rest of them, you spot on.
hmm, yeah, that's all I got, bro.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the one that most men tend to not think of: erectile dysfunction. Do you hear that awkward silence? That awkward
Yeah,
silence. That
I'm going to throw my little Tony Satchers away. I got some I got some salt and vinegar potato chips I'm about to throw away.
erectile dysfunction. I've had people literally come
I've
in
never heard of that. What caused by salt?
caused by high blood pressure because it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Again, let's break it down. Your blood flow has to go into the pelvic area for you to get an erection. If your
Mm,
pressure is too high and it can't circulate into the pelvic area, how can you get and maintain an erection? You can't. So now you're not having the sexual performance that you prefer or used to have, and you're over here wondering why, and you think it's because of A, B, and C. So now you go and pop pills to hopefully make you have a better erection. And those pills actually open up your vasculature. So now your blood flow is increased, but your pressure is still high. So now you have high pressure, and high blood flow. What do you think happens then?
You die.
You either have a heart attack or a
Heart
stroke
attack or stroke.
caused by
Blue
extra
chew.
medicine from a pill that actually made your blood pressure worse because you never got blood pressure in the first place. And that's happened to patients. I've had people come in who are complaining of erectile issues, and I say, well, do you check your blood pressure? No, I feel fine. No, you're not, because if you don't know what your pressure is, that could easily be the case. Diabetes is another one where if your diabetes is not really well controlled or you're a diabetic, you can have erectile issues. That's a whole nother pathophysiology, where basically if you know the physiology and you now mess with that from a pathological standpoint, you're going to cause problems. And all of that being said, people tend to just live and keep on going, self-medicating and not getting better by treating the stuff that's causing the problem. You have to do better with those things and have to get into care to hopefully not overdo it, overtreat, or misdiagnose yourself. But erectile issues is a huge one for males. Females, not so much. But you're spot on with loss of vision and blindness, kidney failure meaning they end up on dialysis, strokes, and heart attacks. The other one that I think you left off is heart failure. As we talked about, the pressure is so high for so long, the heart has to beat extra hard trying to overcome the pressure, that the heart wears out over decades, and now you have heart failure. That's a huge one. The other one people don't realize is something called vascular dementia. So we had a talk and we had an episode on dementia. So your pressure is so high that we're not getting enough blood flow to the brain, that it's not a stroke, but it's basically the brain starts to deteriorate over time. And the brain is deteriorating because we don't get enough blood flow. So now you start to basically have dementia. And it's all because your pressure has never been well controlled. Now, you may say, well, it ain't that high. I don't need medicine. This is why you need to get it to where it's normal and not where you're at stage 1 or elevated. But my favorite, man, I don't like taking pills. Okay, don't take them. It's okay. You feel great right now, but in your 60s, 68, and you're all of a sudden can't remember where things are, and you're wondering what happened, is because you didn't want to take medicine. Because I told you, you need to get it under 120/80, but you think it's 129, you cool. That's your choice. But I'm literally telling you, normal is normal for a reason. It's not normal because Dr. Jasper made up a number, or my favorite, well, you just like giving people pills. Okay, if you think that, then I don't know why you're here in my exam room, but sure. But at the end of the day, that's why we're trying to get people to understand the pathology and the physiology when we put it together and learn how it all comes together. If you don't fix the problem, it's going to cause a breakdown in the future. The one that most people know about is the heart attack and the stroke, but all these other things are relevant. I've had people come in and say, man, I'm having trouble seeing the TV. Come to find out their blood pressure is so high that the damage to the vessels in their eye are now causing blindness. That's what I'm talking about. And that's why when I laugh and I say, when the last time you got your eyes checked? What do you think people say? Whoo, man, it's been a while. And I'm like, so you got high blood pressure that's out of control. You are potentially a diabetic and you got cholesterol issues, but you don't want to go get your eyes. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to see how that works, because you think your eyesight is just guaranteed. No, that's not how this works. So if you're not in care with a doctor who's doing all of this, who's going into the weeds, who's literally checking all those boxes to make sure you don't have to remember all that, and then when you walk out the door, you don't want to listen. I don't get it. But the first problem is getting someone who can do that. And then after you get someone who can do it, following suit. And patient zero, I'm pretty sure you can say with confidence, I've had these conversations with you plenty of times. Not in a, you're not listening, but I literally say, when the last time you got your eyes checked? When the last time you went to a dentist? Have you had this checked? Have you had this checked? And after a while, I'm pretty sure you probably got annoyed of, man, this dude asking a lot of questions. But now it's almost like second nature. It's muscle memory, if I'm not mistaken.
That's exactly how it goes. Because, man, when you have these eyeball visits, you can cover a lot of ground. Like I had a specialist visit yesterday. I want to say it lasted like 5 minutes. That dude was in there and was out of there. When I'm at Baja, it's like, hey, man, you still taking this?
But you
You
gotta
know,
explain the thing, because when you told me it yesterday, I started laughing. You said he didn't even sit down.
so he didn't sit down. That dude walked in there like, hey, Mr. Becnel, how you doing? All right, all right, all right. You need surgery. Any questions? I'm like, a lot of questions. Like
you,
he
you
like,
would
nah,
think he
man,
would
it's no
sit
big
down
deal.
to tell you that. You would have
I
think
do
he'd sit down to
15.
tell you that.
I do 15 of these a week, man. It's cool. I'm like, what?
He must have thought you did 15 with him, because that's why,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't really need to explain it. You was in the room with him.
Dog, I'm telling you, bro, dude went in there 5 minutes. Now I go to the Baja. You asking me about everything that didn't happen to me in the last 3 years. Like, hey man, how's this? How's that? How's this? What's going on? Tell me about your mental health. Okay. That blood pressure is creeping up a little bit. Oh, you know what? That scale, man, you're getting kind of husky. Like, what's going on? Like that, like it's that kind of conversation. And it's a good conversation because you're covering all my aspects of health. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
And
think, and that's why I appreciate it, because there's no stone unturned. Like, I'd be curious to know how many people go misdiagnosed because the doctor didn't spend enough time like asking a bunch of questions.
yep,
You know what I
100%.
mean?
Yeah, and
Like,
that BC powder patient, that's an example, but you're spot on. Like, you don't have enough time, or they do have enough time, but they're so far behind that they really can't necessarily give you the time you need, even when you have questions.
oh yeah, dude was like 50 minutes late and then was in a hurry. My
And
appointment was at 9:30. He got there
oh,
about 10:15.
that's what I was
And
going to
I'm
ask. How
like,
long did you wait?
oh man, I was in that waiting room chilling. Like I was in that waiting room for a long time,
Yeah,
just
I
looking
have that.
around, playing on my phone. My battery was about to die.
Yep. It happens all the time. And that's why I said people come in to see us. They walk straight in, they go straight to the exam room, and we get started. And when we get started, we got a lot of stuff to cover. And an hour may not sound like a long time while you're literally having a conversation, but that hour is enough time for us to hopefully get into everything we need to. And if we can't, you can come right back. There's no extra cost. There's an unlimited amount of visits in the 30 days. And when you come back, we're going to have another hour. So in 2 hours, if I haven't really combed through everything you have, that means either I'm not doing a good job or we must be really spending time on something specific. And these diagnoses that we've covered in all of the episodes, this one potentially being one of the most prominent, especially across the country, these are things that should happen regularly. But the problem is we often see that the system is broken. Doctors don't have enough time. You potentially have a ton of questions. So do all the other patients. And if they don't have time and patients have a lot of needs, the system just doesn't work. And people with hypertension leave. Why? Hey, man, I've been sitting in this waiting room 45 minutes. I've been sitting in this waiting room 50 minutes. I don't even feel that bad. I might as well just go home. So at this point, I feel fine. I tried to go to the doctor, but it took too long. I'm going to just go home. And of course, you never get treated. You never get diagnosed. You feel fine. And it just keeps on repeating itself. The cycle keeps repeating itself until you end up in the emergency room. And they tell you, yes, you have stage 2 hypertension. You also potentially are in kidney failure. And on top of that, I think you're having a heart attack. And now they're sitting there saying, but I'm only, what do you think the age may be?
I'm only 35.
I'm only
I'm
30
only
something.
45.
So one of my first cousins had a massive heart attack in his 30s and had quadruple bypass. Quadruple bypass. Not making it up, not trying to, I mean literally, you can see the scar from his uh, collarbone all the way down. And literally recently, and I appreciate him, came and called and said, man, look, I'm having this, and this. I said, look, you need to come into the clinic. I can't treat you over the phone. You need to get your stuff together. And he literally listened. Now, it was a tough conversation that I had to have because that's just how I am with our patients. I want them to hear the unadulterated truth, but I also want them to hear it from someone who cares, right? If I'm literally talking to you the way I'm talking to you like that so you can hear that it's serious. And he literally had already had a quadruple bypass and still wasn't doing right. So that should tell you that it's not always that easy, but people just don't realize that it can happen at any time. So why take the risk of I'm going to do it when I get time? I'm going to do it whenever my money's right. I'm going to do it whenever I really and truthfully, like, you're making all these generalizations that it's going to just magically happen when it's supposed to. But you don't have to take priority and go in and make it happen. You got to eat better. You got to work out. You got to get up and move. You got to get to the doctor. You got to do all of that. And yes, you only get 24 hours. But trust me, it's been done. And you can do it if you really want to. So we can talk more and more about it. I think we've gone pretty long, patient zero. So we're going to start to close out. Anything that you'd like to kind of give people besides the usual? I'm going to actually put some pressure on you. You can't say what you usually say. I need you to give them something else, because I want you to
Yeah, man.
hopefully pour into the people besides the fact that Chick-fil-A is not your number one. Give them something.
Man, I had a friend of mine who he's actually related to me. Good friend I went to college with. Um, dude, I don't know if he was in care or if he was not in care. He came home from work, so he went to work, came home from work, and told his dad he didn't feel good. Dude dropped dead. You know, he had a massive heart attack and died at the age of 39. Uh, so this is something that you need to take seriously. Um, again, we live in South Louisiana. Our numbers are higher. Um, get checked out. Like, understand, know your numbers, know your body, and check on it, man. Because maybe, and like, I don't know if he was in care or not. When I did talk to him, we didn't talk about like the doctors, but maybe I should have had that conversation with him. Hey, bro, how's your health? How's things going? Um, because you never know, they might have saved him. But if you can have a massive heart attack and drop dead at 39, it can happen to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So just understand where you're at medically. What people say, know your numbers, know your blood pressure. Just get checked out, man, and just understand what's going on with your health. Because odds are, there's a lot of things that's hereditary. You may have to make some type of adjustments because of something that you were born with, or something that you developed because of your behaviors and or lack thereof. Because we live in a fast-paced world, people don't have time, and people start to neglect their health. So just get in care, find a doctor you like, get checked out, and take control of your health.
Agreed. I will jump in and say mine is a little more raw and in your face. Stop making excuses. I don't like taking medicine, I don't like going to the doctor, and all these other statements that we make, it to me is a slap in the face. One, because the amount of stuff that we do make time for and we do put in our bodies, it's no reason why those other things can't also be true. I've had people who eat some of the worst stuff and then say, well, I don't know what's in the pills that I'm taking. What are you talking about? You don't know what's in the gumbo you just ate, but yet you had no problem putting that in your face. And then the idea that it's just going to happen when you get more time, right? Like, as we get older, we're just going to randomly be afforded more time. Like, the kids won't need more time for their activities. Your job won't need more time for its growth. Your family, your elderly parents won't need more time for you to help take care. Like, that's not going to happen. So you can't just do it when it's convenient. You have to make it a priority. And to do that means rewiring your brain to say, at 39, patient zero, who I listen to regularly because he's a great guy, told me a story about a friend of his who dropped dead. Dr. Jasper, who I listen to regularly, and he's a good guy, he told me about a relative of his in his 30s that had a massive heart attack and needed a quadruple bypass. And then I'm pretty sure if you've said those two things, you're probably going to also say, I know someone who that also happened to. So now you got 3 examples of people who all had bad stuff happen. Why do you think it can't happen to you? Because you just magically are covered by the blood of whatever, because you just got it? Like I don't think that that's how this works. So I think
Yeah,
you have
man.
to really and truthfully rewire what you're thinking, get into care. It doesn't have to be with us, but if you're in care, especially if you're listening to this show, if you really and truthfully follow us, you like us, you subscribe, all that, listen, stop being very slow to adopt and get up and say, you know what, let me make this appointment because I got a lot of life to live and it doesn't make sense to shave days, years, months off of it just because being lazy or I'm busy and all that. We all are. But if it means a lot to you, do it. Patient zero literally has driven multiple trips to go to the doctor, I'm sure. It ain't always
Yeah,
convenient. He will do
it's
that.
not.
Why? Because it's important to him. I will do the same. I'm sure a lot of people you know will do the same. Because if you can get in the car and drive to a sports venue or a concert and sit there for hours and literally wait for the main act or the game to start and then sit in traffic to go back home, and you telling me you can't sit in a waiting room to see a doctor for your health, what are we talking about? That makes no sense to me. It's all BS and excuses. So I say that to say as much and as raw as possible because I actually care. Do it. Stop making excuses. Get it done. And if we can do it and get it done, I guarantee you're going to say, man, I can tell that I feel better. Not that I think I'm better. I think I'm healthy. I think my numbers, I know and I feel better. My anxiety level about my health is gone because I know my numbers. I'm in care and the doctor told me I'm doing great. Or, hey, I'm in care. I'm not doing great, but I know where I need to go and what I need to do. Please don't have me talk to you. And again, if you're friends of ours, you listen to this and you talk to me, again, you don't have to talk to me in public and da-da-da. You can pull me to the side and we can have that conversation. And I can at least point you in the right direction. But don't do what a lot of people do. Man, I listened to your show. All right, man, how's your health going? I'm going to go to the doctor when I get a chance. Like, what are we talking about? It makes no sense. So with that being said, to not be on the soapbox forever, get into care. Direct primary care is awesome. Patient zero is a huge advocate for it. So am I. We are literally ready to see you when you're ready. But if not, just get into care, get your numbers down, and get it done sooner rather than later. With that, Patient Zero, we are going to close out officially. Where can the people find you besides the Badger Radio Show?
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter. I refuse to call it X. They can find me at Twitter at George_Becnel, Instagram at Becnel Media, and George Becnel on LinkedIn.
All right. And for us at Bijah Clinic, you can find us at our website, www.byja.org. For our nonprofit, the Bijah Charitable Alliance, you can find us at www.byjaca.org. For our social media, the clinic is on Instagram and Facebook. We're also on LinkedIn at the clinic. And with that, a few more quick plugs. For our book, The Bijah Blueprint, please consider getting that. It's an introductory guide to direct primary care for patients, physicians, and businesses. And probably most importantly, if you haven't done so already, like, subscribe, share, follow, and do all the things that help us keep doing what we're doing on this show and keep going. Specifically, if you haven't done so already, you need to subscribe to us on YouTube because Patient Zero is looking real fly today. I don't think you know that. If you've listened this far, the gentleman has on an amazing tie with some fleur-de-lis on it and looking sharp as, you know, as a razor blade, as I can say. I'm over here looking a little bummy, but at the end of the day, we got video now. So with that, you can see how fly Patient Zero looks.
Look, I appreciate that. And shout out to Gino at Brown and Brown for this custom shirt, man. I can't go to Dillard's and buy shirts anymore, man. Now that Gino to pull up and made me some shirts. So shout out to Gino.
There you go. There you go. With that, we will close out this official episode on hypertension. Way more we can discuss. So make sure